Every nation that follows the Catholic faith in 1444 is now Eastern Orthodox, and every Eastern Orthodox nation, naturally, is now Catholic. The HRE now strictly adheres to the patriarchs for guidance in matters of the spirit, and the Ruskies now venerate the Virgin and have a crucifix hanging above every bed. Of course, the Reformation has been tweaked so that Orthodox provinces will be most directly affected, so that should be quite interesting. For the longest time, I have argued that Orthodox is the strongest religion in EU4, and I'm very eager to see how an Orthodox France, Spain, and England perform. If you enjoy the video, make sure that you like it and subscribe to the channel. We are pushing for 20,000 subs by the end of the year. Also, if you want early access to future videos on the channel, my Patreon is linked in the description. The world in 1444, one with no natives and a political map mode that looks pretty normal outside of this one here, the religious map mode. Orthodox and Catholic switching places, with Orthodox the dominant faith of the Holy Roman Empire, led by an Orthodox Emperor of Austria. Very cool. I made a mod so that the Reformation and all the Reformation centers and the League Wars and all that stuff will happen as vanilla, except just swapped Orthodox with that. So there should be a pretty smooth transition from one to the other, but we'll definitely see some interesting changes, because if you guys don't know, Orthodox is it's pretty strong. And I just thought this was funny, so we left the Pope Man as Orthodox, because why not, you know? So with all of these new Orthodox nations like England, France, and Castile, and all the relative bonuses that Patriarch Authority will give you, what do you guys think will happen in this run? Make sure you let us know in the comments below. And as far as actually finding out, you guys know how we do that. We speed 5, unpause. We are literally 2 years in, and Sweden has declared war on Denmark and Norway, with England and Burgundy helping them out for their independence. And taking a look at the numbers, I think Sweden is probably gonna win. And you guys know about Byzantium, right? The Catholic Empire of Byzantium. The funny part about all this is that basically the Byzantines were the reason why there was the original schism, because they wanted it to be based out of Constantinople, but the Roman Catholics, quote unquote, wanted it to be based out of Rome. There was this schism, and obviously there was a big debate about theology, and the Catholic Church has, for example, extra books that other branches consider apocryphal and stuff like that. So obviously it's a much more deep than just we were far away from them, so we decided to start our own church. There was some very deep-rooted debate, and there was a reason why there was the schism, but it's actually just really funny to see them opposite. Constantinople, the seat of a cardinal loyal to Byzantium. Super funny. France, with almost 30 Patriarch Authority already, dominating Brittany, Aragon, and making their way over into Naples eventually. Safe to say France is probably going to be a contender for one of the majors this time around. Obviously they are when they're Catholic, but I don't know, man. I love Orthodox. It's just such a strong religion in this game. What do you guys think? I know obviously Catholic was buffed quite a bit in the recent patches, but do you think Catholic is better than Orthodox now? I'm curious. We need an F in the chat for Aragon. Between France and Castile, they basically just got kicked out of their homelands. Yeah, their capital is now actually over here in Palermo in Sicily. What in the world is going on over here with this free city? Absolutely just heathens living in Constance. I don't understand it. It's actually not even the state religion, so it's kind of weird that this province is Catholic. Must have been via an event. I can only imagine that's how it happened. Now, aside from a couple of Catholic provinces that have kind of weaseled their way into the HRE, it's very much Orthodox. And as a matter of fact, Orthodox is also doing pretty well out here, with a bunch of conversions going on up to this point. Also doing quite well is France. France, with a maximum manpower of over 64,000. 30 years in, and Ming is still the #1 great power, but look at that France, 644 development, with England at 400, but Mamluks also doing well, with the Ottomans just about to surpass them. Castile doing well as Muscovy, and then Austria. Of course, Austria Personal Union Hungary, and our very based Catholic Muscovy is making their way eastward, and they're doing okay. All things considered, they are consolidating a bunch of the lands over here, and they'll be able to form Russia here at Admin Tech 10. And in 1495, the year of our Lord, the Orthodox Church has decided it is time for some Reformation. Only this time, it's not in Germany. In fact, it's in Sweden, but it's not in Stockholm. The Reformation has spawned over here in Ladoga in Russia. Not off to a good start for the Reformation. Also, how fitting is this that Catholic Muscovy decided to go religious ideas first? You really can't write it better than this, lads. And if it couldn't have gotten any weirder, Stockholm actually spawned a Reformation center for Reformed after being switched to Protestant after the first one formed, when Protestantism was enabled initially. Additionally, we have over here in Holstein a Protestant center. is starting to spread into northern Germany, and these guys down here in Bamberg have converted, but they did not spawn a center of reformation. Aside from that, it's mostly up here in Finland and Karelia that is being converted, so it looks like Germany's getting a bit of a slow conversion, but eventually it'll happen. In the meantime, the HRE not doing well, didn't pass a single bit of reform because there is 42 provinces under non-HRE control, because France and England and Sweden do not give a rip. They are attacking into the HRE, they are taking HRE land, and boy, it's working for them. In terms of the colonial game, Portugal has made their way over into Guinea, and they now control the coast over here. And likewise, they control a bit of the Caribbean, though they are splitting some of it with Castile. Aside from that, there's nothing going on in North America yet, or South America for that matter. And I haven't showed it yet, but about 60 years in, Ming is in shambles. Absolutely in shambles. We have a Shun, a Liang, a Qi, a Wu, a Yu, Dai Viet even getting in on the action. Oirat has land down in Tibet because reasons, so this is an absolute mess over here. Warlord Japan still very much warlording, and Korea doing a bit of Koreaing, taking over a bunch of land in Manchuria. Malacca and Brunei tend to be the guys over here that are making their presence known, controlling the majority of the development in Southeast Asia / Indonesia. And India's got a couple of boys, Delhi, Malwa, Balmanis, Vijay, and of course, Bengal. The Mams have migrated a bit south into Arabia and all the way down into Ethiopia, and for good reason. They are getting absolutely spanked by the Ottomans. No surprise there. The Pope has actually taken over a bit of Tuscany, so that's pretty cool. They're actually doing quite good considering the fact that they were getting beat up on by Naples last time I looked, so that's something to keep an eye on. Aside from that, hilariously, we have Castile and Venice splitting northern Italy. So yeah, I guess we can't forget the Swiss either. They've kind of oozed their way between the Alps, and they have a couple of provinces over here, but it doesn't look like they're going to have them for long. Well, my friends, it seems that we have the unholy alliance upon us. Muscovy allied to the Ottomans. Can't really blame them when you consider the Orthodox world staring down both of their throats, but I don't know if this is what I had in mind when I thought about Muscovy and Ottomans teaming up. Now, taking a look at this map, you may notice that Bohemia looks a little interesting, and that is because they actually got a personal union of Poland, who hates them a lot. So, for how long? Hard to say. Also, less than 100 years in, we have a giant Catholic Russia. 1629 Orthodox has been proclaimed the official faith of the HRE, with a net of minus 1.44 imperial authority every month. This HRE is neither holy nor Roman nor an empire. That is definitely for sure. As the Orthodox nations on the fringes, such as France and Sweden, have absolutely no respect for this empire. Sweden having quite the game, though they've definitely lost some land to Russia. They have gained plenty of land in northern Germany over into northern Poland. Spain has formed, but is not having the best go at it currently. But I think we already know who's gotten pretty big this time around. We have a united Japan next to a very disunited China, though it looks like they may be united sooner or later under the Russian banner. Just across the way here, we have a very, very, very massive Bengal, of course, returning to traditions here on Chewbert. But don't worry, we have Jaipur here, a little one province minor, holding back the tide of blue. Southeast Asia looking Southeast Asia-y. We got Malacca and Brunei still over here, but it looks like Ternate is actually colonizing the Spice Islands. Good on ya. And for that matter, Brunei has decided to head up north into Los Filipinos, so that's really good to see. Portugal decided that they wanted Australia, and then they also wanted Australia over here. We have some green in the south over here, next to some green in the south over here. This is Portugal. This is Kilwa. Portugal and Spain have actually decided that the Sahel and the Guinea region were theirs, so they have taken that for the most part. South America is mostly Peru on the west side, and Brazil is Spanish, but there is some English colonies down there in the south. The left coast over there in California is actually Spanish this time around, with New Spain as well, looking quite good, but lots of rebels going on at the moment. The Caribbean is a mix and match of Spanish and Portuguese colonies, so probably going to see some consolidation eventually between the two. And of course, we've got our piratical boys over here in New Providence, right next to a Swedish colony ship. Because yes, we have a New Sweden and a Finland right next to a New Flanders and a Spanish Canada, though Spanish Canada might not be long for this world. And of course, we have an Iceland, which seems to get released like every game. I don't know, it happens a lot, but I don't care. I think it's cool. And a not so great Britain getting beaten up on by both the Swedes in the north and the French in the south, as well as both of them getting a little bit of a foothold over in Ireland. And of course, we have the manliest nation in the game here on the Isle of Man, the nation of man, pure testosterone, male performance. With a little under 200 years left in the game, we have a massive Ottomans. Why am I not surprised? But France is doing quite well with Spain in the third spot, though Spain is certainly the sick man of Europe right now. Russia with over 2,200 development in the fourth place, with Sweden with less than half of that in the fifth. And then 6th, 7th, and 8th place, all with sub 1,000 development. Portugal, Venice, and then Balmanis. And with 100 years left in the game, things are shaping up to be pretty interesting as we close this one out. The British, with their capital in the Pacific island of Viti Levu, has definitely been kicked out of their homeland, with France and Scandinavia splitting it, as well as Germany, for that matter. Bohemia still exists, though no telling for how long, considering the fact that the Ruskies are on their way. Nitra, one province minor here in the Alps of Austria, so if you had that in your bingo card, go ahead and cross it off now. We also still have Lorraine and Switzerland existing over here as little enclaves of France. Genoa over here off the coast of Italy, but their capital is actually over here in the steppes. Persia has formed, though the Ottomans are pushing them back. And Deccan has formed, but yeah, they're being overshadowed by none other than our big, beautiful friend, the big blue Bengal. Just look at those borders, man. Beautiful, beautiful. And it looks like they're about to kick Malacca out of Southeast Asia. These two red provinces over here on the west coast of Australia are Majapahit, actually. And Rabaul, the famous World War II battle site between the Americans and the Japanese, is actually owned by the Ruskies in this timeline. Seems like there was a bit of a liberty desire issue here in South America. All of Portugal's subjects have broken free. We have Colombia, Paraguay, and Chile. And somehow, some way, Portugal's colonies over here are now owned by Scandinavia. Though, as it was before, the Spanish control the entirety of the west of America, and it appears that it is the French and the Scandinavians who control the north and the east. Though somehow, some way, Chile owns one province here up in Maine. And with an Orthodox empire comes Orthodox domination, with the only Protestant remaining, Bohemia. Though how about that Catholic relentless push east? Pretty nice, you gotta admit. All the way down through northern China into all of Korea. And with 100 years left, France is out in front, but neck and neck with the Ottomans, and then 1,000 dev below them is Scandinavia, Spain, Russia, Bengal, and then way below them is Deccan and Delhi with under 1,000 development in the 8th spot. And when it's all said and done, we've got 2 hegemons and 8 great powers to take a look at. We've got France with Russia neck and neck, separated by 300 development, but even closer to them is Bengal in the 3rd place. And just 200 development behind Bengal is the Ottomans in 4th, with Scandinavia in 5th place at 3,200 development and down to 2,500 for Spain, 1,800 for Deccan, and then a measly little 1,020 development for Venice. Though them existing in all is impressive, I will give them that. The big Orthodox boys of France and Scandinavia co-dominated most of Europe, and it wasn't even close. They did whatever they wanted the whole game from the very start. Sweden was an absolute massive monster, and France, oh my gosh, France just dominated. Though we do still have Italian tags of Venice and Sardinia hanging out, with Venice even having a province down there towards the toe of Italy in, what is that, Lucania or whatever? Iberia shifted mostly into French hands, but borders are not perfect, with the Spanish capital here in Cadiz on the tip of Iberia. Ah, beautiful. The Ottomans overall had a very good game all the way up into Italy, much into Hungary, all the way over to Tunisia, down to the Horn of Africa, and somehow Persia got gobbled up by Delhi. I assume that was before Russia came and pushed all the way down almost to Delhi. Though Russia, Bengal, and Japan over here kicking ass and taking names, China is definitely a Bengali/Russian region now. Deccan lost a decent chunk of their land to Bengal, and Bengal made their way all the way down into Indonesia. They even took over Papua and made their way into the Philippines, taking it from Brunei. Though it needs a special mention, my boys, the Boner Boys, ended up doing okay. They took over the entirety of this island and most of Borneo, which is very respectable considering they started as like a 1 or 2 province minor over here. Let's show the Boners a little bit of love in the comments, boys. Bengali Australia, truly a cursed timeline, with Portuguese Australia across the way. Kilwa exiled out of Kilwa and into the Cape, hilarious, with Portugal exiled into Kilwa. The Congo did okay over here, and the Congo did okay over here. And of course, I gotta point it out when it happens, we've got a Somalia, one of my favorite beautiful tags of the game. South America decided to fight amongst itself, with Paraguay getting beaten up on by mostly Spanish colonies. And Spain finished up their colonization of the west coast, but there is some Russian lands over here. We have a Russian Baja Mexico and Russian regular Mexico. So that's a thing. I didn't know that Russia ever went colonial, but they did this time around. As far as the East Coast and Canada, it looks basically the same as it did last time, if I recall. We got New Scandinavia, New Flanders, and then we also have Vinland and French Canada. But that's about it. Also, I said Canada, and I'm going to have my editor leave it in because that's me being an idiot. Nitra was exiled from this Ultra Carinthia, whatever, and sent back to their homeland over here. And as far as cultures go, it's all Rhenish. It's all Rhenish. It's also all Gascon and Occitan over here in Iberia, but we cannot forget about Portuguese, the legendary Iberian culture. It looks like the boys over here have been pushed out and replaced with some Egyptians a la the Ottoman Empire. And the Occitans pushed quite a bit over here into Lombardy as well. Cultures down under is Portuguese, but we can't forget about the Javanese over here. South America, a very Iberian continent with Brazilian, Portuguese, and Platinian taking up the majority of the development. Though we do have English Argentina surrounding the Brazilians of Argentina. And honestly, the Caribbean and North America, very similar as well. We have Castilian and Mexican sprinkled throughout the continent, with Americans basically taking up Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Michigan, as well as large chunks of Canada. But of course, we cannot forget about the Swedish pockets up here, like in rural Canada, as well as rural America, even in a little bit of Appalachia, and over here in New York and Pennsylvania. Mexican Newfoundland is probably my favorite. But how about that religious map mode? That is a very, very orange map mode. Bohemia remains the only Protestant nation in Europe with everything, and I mean everything else, is Orthodox. The lands that the Ottomans conquered over here is not converted. Of course, the Dhimmi do not allow conversions, as well with the Russians over here in Eastern Europe. A lot of the lands remain Orthodox, but a couple of Catholic provinces here and there. And you guys know about this province here in Italy, right? The Russian province of Albania, or whatever it is. Call it a treaty port, right? But of course, the Russians brought Catholicism all the way over to Siberia, even evangelizing the good word of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, to Korea and northern China. Very based. Though I do want to say that there was a lot of Christians in pre-communist China. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I've heard that before. All the way down to the Indian Ocean, the Catholics are here. India, though split between a Shia and a Sunni nation, is almost exclusively Hindu. Though Malaysia, as well as the islands of Indonesia and the Philippines, are very, very homogenous, with Sunni being the official faith. As expected, lots of Orthodox down under in both Australia and New Zealand. We have Sunnis down here on the very southern tip of Africa, with Orthodox taking up the majority of the eastern parts development, with Catholics in the interior, and Orthodox over here on the western parts and in the Sahel. Even this little corridor over here separating the Horn of Africa and the Sahel is Orthodox, which is pretty cool. In this mixed mash of Sunni, Coptic, and fetishist over here, we even have some surviving pockets of Jewish folk. And though it doesn't look like it would last much longer because it's being converted right now, Yazd is still Zoroastrian. And it appears that the HRE has actually been disbanded. There is no HRE, there is no Empire of China, there is nothing. We do still have the Holy See, but there's one member nation. And somehow they only have 7 cardinals. What the heck? But yeah, perpetual holder of the Holy See here, Russia. The Curia controller bonuses are actually really nice. The top 4 with all over 4,000 development, France, Russia, Bengal, and the Ottomans. Scandinavia with over 3,000, with Spain, Deccan, and Venice finishing it up with just over 1,000 development. 0 points for the economic hegemon of France, but they are at least trying, as well as 0 points for the economic hegemon of Bengal. So the number 1 great power and the number 3 great power, with the religions switched from what they would normally be. That's pretty cool. Guys, I'm curious what your favorite part of this video was. Make sure you let us know in the comments below. I think mine would have to be Catholic Russia still dominating as if they were Orthodox, if not doing even better. If you have a suggestion of something that you would like to see in the future, make sure you let us know. Leave it in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video, leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel for more. If you want to join my Discord, my subreddit, or my Twitter, those things are all linked in the description. And if you want early access to these videos like the wonderful people who support me, you can check out my Patreon link in the description below. That is all I've got for you for this one. I hope that you are all having an absolutely wonderful day. And until next time, stay chill.